This is Tiny.
Good day to you.
Tiny is a young mage with a wonderful life ahead of him. He was recently hired at the Stormwind Library to do some archiving and some chronicling work. He has received quite the task. Chronicle the Horde. The Horde may be at war with the Alliance, but learning everything they can about their lands, their people, motivations, and history is part of any great historian's mission. However, on Tiny's first day on the job, as he was heading towards one of the libraries in Stormwind, he heard a noise. And after that, a lot of it was a blur. That is, until he heard a voice.
Awaken.
Tiny has awoken, and it seems he has found a new life in Undeath. Through the call of the Banshee Queen Sylvanas, he has been granted a new freedom. Well, two new freedoms. One from the grasps of the Lich King, and the other from life. With no other mission than the last one he had ever looked forward to, he begins his journey in the lands known as Deathknell, located within Tirisfal Glades of the Eastern Kingdoms. Part 1. Awakening. Tiny here awoke inside of a crypt, alone, confused, and honestly quite cold, although the chill of death doesn't seem to affect him the way he thought it would. He begins to exit the crypt, with a friendly face greeting him. The man calls himself Undertaker Mordo, and he is the caretaker of this here crypt. He relates to us that he is glad that we have actually woken up, and that the Lich King no longer has us bound as slaves. He said if we hadn't awoken, we would have been tossed to the pyres. Quite the warm embrace. He tells us Shadow Priest Sarvis is in the chapel near the base of this hill, and he can guide us on our newfound life. The run down the hill warms our bones, and surprisingly, Sarvis is only a tad warmer than Mordo. He comments how our awakening, and Mordo, can be quite the shock. He goes on to explain our situation in Undeath. This woman, our new leader, Lady Sylvanas, also known as the Dark Lady, guides us on our war against the Scourge, and the holdouts of humanity who dog us at every step. An interesting turn of events in which the Undead would fight both the Undead and the living. Sarvos continues on how the Lich King raises armies of the dead, foul beasts of the north, and even ghosts to attack us. Even our former brothers and sisters have been raised, and we call them the Mindless Ones. Nothing but slaves to the Lich King. He tasks me, and my new powers in Undeath, to take care of these weaker zombies, and that I should only report back when I have success to report. Before we depart, we are also requested by a nearby woman to speak. Venya Marthand is what she calls herself, a prominent warlock, telling us that to further our powers, we must leave ignorance behind us and gain knowledge. It seems our magical arcane abilities have twisted in our death. She says, while I'm out hunting the undead, I should acquire 3 skulls of the rattlecage skeletons at the nearby abandoned smithy. With these, she could teach me how to bind my own servant. So, we begin the killing. We don't feel like we know much in terms of magic since our death, but it seems the Mindless Ones and even the rattlecages are no match for our shadow and flames. When we return, with a bit more power coursing through us, we are rewarded for our hard work. Sarvis laments how we have no choice but to destroy these mindless creatures, and Venya teaches us how to bind an imp. She does warn us that an imp's size is part of their deception, and any strength they lack they possess in power and cleverness that will serve us well. Through this small act, we gain our first ally in this world of the Forsaken. From here, Sarvis gives us a scroll from a nearby warlock master, Maximilian, who wishes to teach us more of the dark arts, adding curses to our array of spells, and another quest to showcase our abilities under pressure. It seems those rattlecages that we were just eliminating before are actually a growing nuisance, and the 3 that we had killed have done nothing to dent their numbers. However, before we leave, it seems another may need our help as we leave for the fields around Deathknell. Novice Elrith is a bit of a master of all things here in town, from tending to the wounded, tailoring armors and clothes, or doing whatever else Sarvis needs. It seems her and I are both alike in that matter, so she asks us for help. The reserves of paws and wings have begun to run low, something she utilizes in her day-to-day work. She asks us to hunt the nearby wolves and bats for these animal parts, with the promise of a reward if we bring her 6 of each. We could use a bit more armor as we face more and more creatures, so we agree to her terms. Luckily, with our powers and our new friend Pisnik, we make short work of skeletons, bats, and wolves alike. Sometimes even chaining our attacks across multiple enemies until they fall to our feet. As we traverse, we do take time to reflect on the lands of Deathknell. Although littered with crypts, graves, and an ever-persistent gloom, we find some beauty in this once lost part of the Eastern Kingdoms. As we return, Elder thanks us and hands us a piece of gear, and she says that she hopes it does us more good than the last one to wear it. It seems the Forsaken are fans of recycling everything. Sarvis, on the other hand, tells us as we return that they are finished with us and that we are worthy of the freedom the Dark Lady has given us. Before we depart, he gives us some very important advice as we continue our journey. Through our undeath, many will stand against us, just because we are what we are, but no matter what they do to us, we are free, and we will not be shackled again. Chilling, straight to the point, but inspiring. We thank Sarvis and look for our next opportunity here in town. As we leave the chapel, we see a nearby man is in need of help. Executor Aaron, he calls himself. Through him, we discover the situation the Forsaken have found themselves in within their new society. The Forsaken are struggling with natural resources that they need to survive, gold being one of the most important ones. Nearby is a gold mine, but it's become overrun with spiders. The job is simple. With manpower from the Executor group running thin, we are asked to clear what we can of the spider infestation so that they can find an easy time getting into the mine in the future. With not much other purpose other than being fully freed, we accept the job. But as we go to depart, another guard, Death Guard Sultane, offers us another job. That's a bit more local. Sultane tells us that new recruits will be rising from the dead soon, but there is not enough equipment to go around. He calls us a miserable bag of bones and tells us to scavenge some goods around the town, as the mindless ones roam around them. Fortunately, it seems we will at least be rewarded for doing this busy work. A job is a job, so we get to it. These boxes are quite scattered, and the mindless ones, with fear from our recent killings, seem to leave us alone for the most part. We do a bit of searching, purchases, and trade with some nearby merchants, and then return to Sultane. To his surprise, we discovered we aren't useless, and hands us one of the better items we had collected from the scavenged goods. Kind of him to do, but we also feel like we just did his job for him. Nevertheless, this frees us up to go hunt some spiders. The mine, as we discover, is, by definition, infested, and where we discover our first aggressive enemies, the night web spider. Dressed to kill with its black exterior and red speckled body, the night web spiders wait for no one as they begin their assaults and lunges. Dripping with poison fangs and their battle cries, Pisnik and I cast spell after spell until bodies begin to surround us. As we reached the end of the mines, we saw that the spiders began to descend from their nests and webs, and at this point we understood now more than ever why Executor Aaron was having issues with the mine. Luckily, Pisnik never tires, and we had enough food and drink to revitalize us as we begin to clear our way out of the mines. As we continued, we discovered this chest, one that did not look like the ones we had seen before. As we opened it, we discovered this magical rune. Quickly, we pocketed the rune, and we hoped that our trainer Maximilian would know more about it. Returning to town with our quest complete, we give Aaron the good news. Aaron says it may take a few more weeks, if not months, to clear out the infestation, even with all of our killing, but fire can always help and do the trick. With our deed done, Aaron says he has more for us to do. That is, if we are willing. With progress in the mine beginning, he wishes for us to turn our eyes to another concern. It seems the Scarlet Crusade has set up a camp nearby. Here, we learn that the Scarlet Crusade is this despicable organization that hunts us, and will not rest until all undead are destroyed. Lich King, Source, the Forsaken, it does not matter. And with their religious zeal backing them up, it makes them both dangerous and a worthy adversary. Aaron wishes for us to collect 12 armbands to prove that we have killed enough of them. And although we are new to undeath, it seems like a worthy cause, so we accept. However, before we depart and to go on to our next hunt, we stop by Maximilian, who teaches us of this new magic known as runes. He shows us how these runes allow us to engrave their magical abilities upon our gear, empowering us, and maybe one day surpassing even the greatest warlocks with these abilities. As we leave, we notice Elrith wants to speak to us again. Elrith explains to us that her friend Maria Phipps had lived with her husband Samuel before the plague, and when it swept through the lands, Samuel succumbed and joined the ranks of the Scourge. Sadly, even though Maria was spared the curse of undeath, she died to the hands of the now mindless Samuel. But with her love so strong, even in her dying wish, she asked to be buried with her beloved. Elrith has learned that Samuel roams a ruined camp along the road leading out of town, and that she asks us to not only defeat him in battle, but bury him alongside Maria in the nearby graveyard. Seeing this human side of Elrith kindles whatever humanity we have left, and we agree to her terms. Looking at our map, it looks like finding Samuel should be our first priority, as his alleged camp will be near a good path to go find the Scarlet Crusaders, at least find them and not be discovered. As we journey on, we do find an area abandoned with a few undead sprinkled about. We discover Samuel wandering mindlessly among 3 other friends of his in Undeath. So, to be safe, we lure Samuel out from his allies before eliminating him. And then, to be even safer, we make sure to put Samuel's friends to rest as well before we continue on. With Samuel's remains neatly tucked inside our pack, we travel on to find the religious fanatics. The converts and initiates litter the area, hiding amongst the hills, the trees, or huddled in groups around a fire. These are the first living humanoids we have come into contact with since our untimely demise, but as they see us, they immediately reach for their blades and their spells. Not wishing to die, we fight back. Maybe it is the will of the Forsaken coursing through us, or it's the lack of humanity in being undead, but we feel only disdain towards these zealots as they fall before us. Executor Aaron will want to know of our progress, and we have a grave plot to fill. At the gravesite, we find Maria's plot and a fresh pile of earth for Samuel, and with burying him being the finishing of our task, we take a moment and we hope that these 2 lovers find peace together in the afterlife. Aaron reminds us the opposite of love as we hand him the armbands. He laughs and makes a joke about maybe sitting the Scarlet Crusaders down for some reasonable discourse, calling them light-blinded fools. As luck may have it, reports from Aaron's superiors came in right before we arrived, and it turns out the Scarlet Crusade has dispatched someone from the Scarlet Monastery. According to his reports, this messenger has some important information, and somehow we are the most qualified person to find this messenger, called Mevin Korgel. Kill him, and then we should return with any information. This time, we arrive at the camp seeing new reinforcements have arrived. Piznik and I make short work of these converts as we search the various tents to find Mevin. Luckily for us, he chooses to not only dress differently, but we discover he is wearing the Scarlet Crusader tabard, brandishing a sword and shield in his own tent. We make quick work of him and find the Scarlet Crusade documents on his person. As we read them, we discover that the orders from the Scarlet Crusader's High Lord is being dispersed all across Tirisfal Glades, indicating who needs to further fortify their position, supply dispatch timelines, their direction to gather info about the undead in the town of Brill, and the undead organization by the Plaguelands. It also mentions that there is undead moving nearby their northern towers, all to reinforce that they live under the glory, under the light. I don't think I enjoy these zealots very much. We return to Executor Aaron and alert him of what we have discovered. And most of it he finds useless and redundant. That is, until he finds the map of their dispositions for their commanders and their agents. But with this, Aaron says we must go meet his superior, Executor Zygand, who will need this information, and it only makes sense that we go and deliver it. With Aaron's suggestion, we are given our first path to discovering Tirisfal proper, and we need, or shall, go to Brill. So before we leave for Brill, we sell some supplies and stock up on others, and we begin our trek to leave Deathknell. As we reach the walls of the town, we are met with a rogue's deal. Calvin Montague says if we're on our way to Brill, he has a letter to an innkeeper named Rene. He hands us a letter and says we should check the inn out. Feeling the weariness of our escapades so far, this seems to be a fair add-on to our current quest. So, we begin our journey and see the gloomy paths before us as we exit the walls. But for now, I think I, Tinywriter, will lay my pen down. Until next time, as we continue the Chronicles of the Horde. Hey everyone, matthew.E here, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching, listening, etc. This was different than any other video I've done thus far, and I'm not entirely sure if this is the exact format I will continue with, so if you have any suggestions, comments, criticisms, anything like that, I'm all ears. But thank you so much for watching Tiny journey through Deathknell, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.